All right. Hello, everybody. I think I did it right this time, so welcome. Okay, so we are going to do the workout of the month. We are going to hit a diastasis healing workout. So the way that this workout is designed is that um, it is a progression, meaning that you can just, if the first exercise is the only one that feels good, if you're newly postpartum, that's where I want you to start. And as you get further along in better recovery, you can then take the following exercises and work towards them. Or if you're feeling really good with the first couple, maybe the third one is where you're at. So I highly recommend, using this as a full workout eventually, but the idea is that they get harder as we go. So you may just not be ready for some of the later exercises yet. Equipment that you need today is a pillow, an elevated surface. I have a chair. You can use a wall. And then I'm also going to anchor a band. Okay, so you can see my band anchored here. And yeah, you really just need to be able to anchor it to something sturdy at about belly button height from a kneeling position. So you can also do this without that exercise and just skip it if you need to. Okay. With that being said, let's jump right in. So we're going to start on our back with that pillow. This first exercise, like I said, we're progressing. So let me just make sure you guys can see me fully. So this is going to start out gentle. It's kind of a good warm up. Good way to get the core system, the breathing under control. So you are going to lie on your back and you are going to place the pillow between your knees. You can also squeeze a yoga block, a foam roller, but we all have a pillow handy. This is one that you can start working on very early postpartum in bed. And we're going to work on our breath. So you're going to take a big full inhale, thinking about expanding into your armpits, into the floor all the way, and down into the pelvis. And then as you inhale, thinking about letting that pelvic floor relax. Then on the exhale, you're going to squeeze the pillow, lift the pelvic floor, tighten the core, audible exhale. So what that looks like I want you to do 6 breaths, counting them on your own. If it's too difficult to think about releasing that tension on your inhale, go ahead and keep the squeeze throughout. As you squeeze, you should feel those lower abs a little bit more than when you don't have the squeeze. And that's the goal of the pillow, is we're adding that extra help from those inner thighs to help reactivate, reawaken, really tap into those lower abdominals, which we so often check out of during pregnancy and postpartum. So much stretching occurs, the baby sits there, and we just almost forget how to use them. So this is a great way to start waking up that lower abdominal region, and nice and gentle. Okay, pillow aside, actually we're gonna stay on our backs. We're gonna go into a dead bug. Okay, I'm gonna show you the easiest version in this round and we'll progress as we go. So using that breath idea, big full inhale, exhale, tighten the core, start sliding a leg out as straight as you can, with the goal of making sure there's no movement at your hips. So as you lower the leg, you don't want to tip towards the hip, and you also don't want to let the back basically arch or your pelvis tip. So again, inhale, Exhale. Extend, keep that exhale, keep that core tension. Inhale. Okay, if that feels too easy, you feel very stable here. Inhale. Right, you're gonna do 10 each, 20 total. At whatever level feels the best, making sure you feel that core, no coning or doming. Again, 10 each on your own, trying to alternate if you can. Because most of the things that we do as a mom, as a woman, as a human, is never just one side at a time. Walking, switching legs, okay? Big component here and a benefit to learning how to stabilize that core as you switch sides. So sometimes it can be easier if you just do one side at a time, and you find it's a lot easier to keep everything nice and stable. But we really want to challenge that, because how often are you just lifting your right leg over and over again? You're not really. You're going upstairs, alternating feet. You are walking, alternating feet. Maybe you want to run again. You're alternating feet. Okay, so practicing that alternation is going to be really beneficial. Now, I am on a hardwood surface, so I'm going to have something for my knees for this one. But you know, completely up to you. Now the band is anchored on my right side facing you. So I'm gonna bring my left knee up in front. Okay, there's enough tension on the band that as I pull, if I'm not ready for it, it wants to pull me over. Okay, you are gonna hold it with your right hand mostly, grabbing to support with that left hand, making sure you find that engagement in the core without over squeezing this down or right glute. And then exhale, coming across. Now, the misconception with these torso rotations, if you notice right now, I'm keeping that range of motion incredibly small. If I start to do this, I can no longer keep that core engagement and keep my pelvis stable. And we are trying to work into that core. So you need to stay in that nice, stable range of motion where the core stays on the whole time. There are absolutely benefits to that full range of motion and getting movement at the hips, but I really want to concentrate on keeping this brace. But also notice that my breath, my speaking, none of it changes even though I'm bracing, because I'm not actually holding my breath to make the brace happen. Okay, I'm just engaging the core. You're gonna do 10 on that side, and then we're gonna switch. Okay, so you will get a short view of my butt. I did just run, so I'm nice and sweaty too, I apologize. But again, same thing, nice small range of motion. I'm not creating tension in my core by squeezing this button, okay? I'm thinking about using those lower abs like a hook to lift that pubic bone towards the ceiling. 10 in each direction at your own pace, making sure you can feel that core. If you're feeling your lower back a little bit, you can kind of pull this heel towards you. Ideally, you're thinking about it as it's stuck in super glue and it's creating some tension without actually moving or sliding. And you'll feel that tension in the hamstring on the back of that leg, okay? Now, we're gonna go to our elevated surface. You can do this from a wall. You can do this from a higher surface than what I have here, but for the visual, I'm gonna use the chair. Now, if you do have a mini band, you can put this around the arches of your feet and it'll help increase the difficulty and it actually tap into those lower abs a lot better. But for the sake of starting out, being a newer mom, maybe not having the equipment, this works just as well. So making sure that your shoulders are over your wrists, hips are down, so you're not mountain or valley, okay? Nice and tight. Knees can be slightly bent. You should feel a little bit of a squeeze in your glute. You should feel the core. And then you're just bringing one knee at a time towards your chest. Making sure too that you're not sinking into your shoulders. Push away from the chair. Okay, really get into this armpit to help you push away. And then your breath is 10 each, 20 total. Again, making sure that you're not rounding here, okay? You're just pushing away. No mountains, no valleys, knees come in. Okay. And then last but not least, we're gonna go into a bear plank. Remember, this whole workout is a progression within itself. So maybe if you still have a super severe diastasis and some of the half kneeling rotation or maybe even the dead bugs was really hard for you, then I wouldn't go into these later exercises just quite yet. However, that being said, you might also find that you're able to do the elevated step-ins, but you're struggling with the dead bugs, okay? So play with it a little bit, kind of see what's challenging without being too difficult or putting too much more pressure on the diastasis, and go from there, okay? And progress from there. Like I said, the workout itself is a progression, so we're getting harder. So these things should feel harder than if you did them in isolation as well, okay? Now, hands and knees position. You are gonna have, again, your shoulders over your wrists, hips over knees. My belly, I'm gonna let it sag to the floor, and then I'm gonna think about that hook, pulling my pubic bone towards my rib cage. If you want, you can kind of round and sag, and then kind of find that middle ground. That's gonna be your neutral. And you're here, okay? And then we're gonna just lift the knees about 1 inch off the floor and hold. Let me just get a good time here. 3, 2, 1, exhale, and you're holding here, okay? Really thinking about that breath, pushing through the armpits without rounding at the shoulders. Knees are just slightly off the ground. If this is too difficult, you can do up, down. Think about inhale, exhale, or we're holding here, okay? You got 7 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then last but not least, we're gonna go into a side plank, but we're gonna do a variation that you probably haven't tried before. So, actually, I'm gonna show this to you elevated because I think that's a better place to start. So we'll do it elevated. You will be on your forearm, shoulder over your elbow. You are gonna bring the top foot in front and then have a good plank position on that bottom leg. Now, like we talked about in the side plank rotations, you're gonna pretend to drag this front foot. And if you see, as I drag, it kind of pulls me forward a little bit, creating some tension back here. Don't let it actually move, okay? That knee is gonna come up into kind of 90 degrees from your hip. Make sure hips and chest still face forward, and then create some tension here. You got 20-second hold. Push away from the chair. Make sure you're creating some tension. You should feel these obliques, maybe even that down glute, definitely the hamstring, and breathe. And rest. Good. Now, the other reason that I like starting with that pillow squeeze is because each of these exercises after it needs to have that pattern down. So even as you're holding this side plank, I want you to think about inhaling into armpits, back, side, exhaling from the pelvic floor, tightening that core. So on your exhale, you should feel more core engagement than you did without the exhale. Okay, we'll go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, getting a good drag on that hamstring. Big inhale, exhale. Keeping tension on that hamstring. Shoulders, chest, hips facing forward. 3, 2, 1. Okay, awesome job, guys. So that is your diastasis healing workout. Now, I highly suggest that you go through this 2 or 3 more times, at least. Make it a full circuit of 3 or 4 rounds. Okay. If you have any questions, let me know. Check for coning and doming around that midline. If you're not sure what that is, I believe I have a YouTube video about it. If not, reach out, send me an email at jen@momsfitlife.com, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Practice the breathing and really just take your time with it. It's not a rush. We don't need to push it. This is all about having a functional linea alba or gap here, okay, and getting that diastasis to be supportive for you and to stop making it worse or putting too much pressure on it, okay? So hopefully that was helpful for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.